It's week 6. This is group 4, and we are meeting to discuss recruiting and hiring. I had to look. But before we do that, I was thinking maybe since now we know what's expected for us on these papers, and maybe when we meet each week, we can just decide what we want to use as our problem for our next paper. So I don't know if either of you have looked back into the doohickeys problem, and I meant to, and I didn't. Just to come up with our one problem for recruiting and hiring, and then, I don't know, then we're just kind of all on the same page.
I forgot we're supposed to be doing that again. Dang it.
I know.
I don't want to do it again.
We have a few brains to get here.
We have to do it a few more times.
Yeah. So did you want to pick the problem that one person addresses, or do you want to assign out what week they should be, or topic they should focus on?
Well, if you guys are okay with it, I like how we did it before, where we each just took like the week that we hosted, like this would be my week and you would have next week, and
yeah, I
we
think
just
that
do
works great. I like
the
that.
4 solutions. But if we at least decide together what the problem is, then I don't know.
Okay.
Just make more of a group effort, I guess. But I forgot to look back at the doohickeys problem to
Well,
give
if
an
I remember right, hiring-wise, they have a couple issues, but it mostly comes down to the fact that they don't have any standardized. Again, it's like they're lacking an HR division. They have no standard practices, and the other big issue was promotion from within. They have no inward promotion. They have buddies basically come in, all outside hires. So they have all kinds of talent inside the company going to waste. I think that was kind of the crux of it, but I'd have to read it again to remember more.
Well, and they didn't have job descriptions, and so as a result, like you said, they had nothing to even base their hires on.
Yeah.
And they mention that the CEO or the president was the one that was making all of those decisions without referring to anybody else. Everyone just hired with, they were on their own hiring, I think is what I want to say.
Yeah, everyone did their own thing, and there was one guy making decisions. Yeah, you're right.
So they just needed to start at square one, I think.
That one should be pretty good to write about, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably plenty to go off of, and then the case this week had a lot of ideas for hiring and recruiting. So
yeah,
not the case, but the other reading, I guess. That's what I meant to say.
So I've got down that next week I'm doing it, and are you still okay with doing it on Tuesday? Because I know that means you might have to rush through some other things to get read or done so we can discuss, but is that going to be a problem for anybody?
I think I'm good. That's the 25th?
Yes.
No, we should be fine. I should be fine. I mean, and if we don't have to take all of our quizzes by then,
but that's
just
true.
Get through the reading and just to.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be fine with me.
Okay.
I may need a reminder email though, because we have moved it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but yeah, if we could email.
I'll email you Monday.
That would be really amazing if you don't mind.
Okay.
Same time, or did you need to do it a little earlier, Lisa?
No, I'm good at 1:00 on Tuesday.
Okay.
That'll work.
Okay. So that would mean next week is career development and training, and that's what I would focus my doohickeys on. And then, Michael, you do the motivation is what it shows the next week. And workplace safety. So one or the other, I guess.
Okay. That's good enough. That's
great. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So on to our case for this week. Let's just, Michael, who was your first choice to keep? Of the 4 remaining candidates.
I kind of hated this. I hate trying to decide who's a better candidate, to be honest. I think I would have taken probably Ken. And, all of the final candidates seemed like pretty good. Picks, but I just felt like he had a lot of experience. And based on what we read, experience isn't necessarily the thing to go off. So my main problem is I read the case and then I went back and read the document talking about the hiring practices and
Oh, okay.
and so now I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know if I liked my pick very much, because I kind of did, in the case it talked in the Harvard reading, it talked about how a typical thing for people to do is to look at who has decent experience and then to just go off of that. And it says that one of the main shifts that they need you to do in thinking is to think about the specific skills that are needed and to look for the skills instead. And so I actually didn't do that when I read the case.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking that I probably.
Oh, you bring up a really good point, and I read the other one first, but that
Second one, so, yeah.
Oh, I picked a guy that had a lot of experience, and I mean a lot of them had a bunch of experience, but now I'm thinking, well, I should have read it and been looking at skills. Who's going to have the skills for the job? And so now
I guess I just assumed that he had the skills, but now that I'm not looking at that.
No, and that's the thing is we do equate experience with skills, and that's kind of what's led to that problem. But the fact is, it's not the same thing. Having experience doesn't necessarily mean that they have the skills that you're going to need for that particular position.
Yeah. Yeah. And I speaking of skills, I liked Andy because of his enthusiasm. I thought that he had that spark that might be easier to work with, as well as keep him motivated, since this banking is so overwhelming, time consuming, that I would think his enthusiasm would be a benefit for him. I don't know if I'd pick him, but that's kind of one quality I think that he has that would be helpful.
Yeah, that's true. I think with him, I was worried that he wasn't as committed, maybe, which is also important, but
yeah,
you have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
And also, I think I picked Ken also just on the fact that he does have a family. I hate it when people are discriminated against because they have a family. Like, what are all the dads supposed to do if they don't have a job?
And looking at this, I just have the case up and I'm just kind of looking at Ken's thing again, and I think maybe I would still stick with him as a pick just because it looks like he has the skill set.
It does say that. I'm not looking at it right now. I'm afraid to open another thing on my computer because
I have no worries.
I've got it printed, so it's just, I've got it here. Yeah.
I mean, it looks to me that that's kind of where his experience was versus the other guys. I mean, they're skilled leaders, but they don't have the background in this particular field. Not that they probably wouldn't do well, because a lot of times these like grade A personalities with this ability, that have a lot of ability and talent, can learn skills quickly. But based on our reading and just trying to pick somebody that would have the skill set already, I still think Ken is probably a good pick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who
And I
else
like,
did you choose, Elisa?
I just was thinking Martin has a diverse background, which might help relate to other people a little bit better, or to see things from a different perspective. So I thought he's got some qualities that would be helpful to implement in a teamwork situation. So
Remind me of a couple of his things, because since he wasn't my choice, I don't have anything in my notes about him.
he served in the military. He didn't have a lot of business experience, but he had a lot of leadership experience.
Leadership, okay.
And so he's very dependable. He knows what it's like to depend on a team or on each other. He's done well leading people, and they say he's very personable. He has got a dynamic personality, which I think kind of is helpful. So he knows long hours, 24-hour days, so that might help him as well. Anyway.
I think that Natalia was also a really good pick.
Yeah, she was my other choice also.
She looks like she's got really great skills, and the other thing is I think she's younger.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of these hiring decisions they look at as kind of like a long-term deal. So for one, they can save a lot of money by not getting someone like Ken, who's been in the industry for a long time and is going to command a really high paycheck.
True.
Someone younger coming in, they can pick up for relatively cheaper. They can have a lot longer, that whole thing. And I know that with a lot of these bigger name hires, that plays a big role. They didn't really talk about that as much in this, but
It's true. Yeah.
I feel like she'd be a really strong contender for that reason.
Yep. Yep. And it seems like she really went out of her way to make sure she was seen.
Yeah.
And went to the extra mile to show what she has and her skill set, which was.
She definitely had the right skill set too. So of the candidates that had the right skill set, I feel like she was one of the ones that did.
And a lot of culture too.
Yeah, sure.
So
Yeah.
I just think she would have been a really strong pick too. And I like the comment you made about Ken and them discriminating against him because he had a family. I didn't really think about that, but after you said that, it just kind of jogged my memory on a few other case studies I've read, and that does kind of seem to be a common theme. I mean, they do kind of knock people that have families in these case studies.
Yep.
And I feel like having a family is such a source of strength for candidates.
Yeah.
I would be more inclined to hire someone with a family because they're stable, that they have a definite drive. I mean, I know that when I get up and I have stuff I don't want to do, I think about my wife, and she depends on me to finish my schooling and to be reliable for her. And It's a huge source of motivation. I can't even think about not coming through with what I need to do when I think about her, and the fact that she trusts me, and that's so important to me. I mean, she's just this huge anchor in my life, a source of stability, and I got to feel like, we don't have any kids yet, but I got to feel like kids would make that feeling even more, even stronger.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a great point.
Yeah. Really good. Well, all right.
Okay, let me see. Are you looking at the discussion leader thing, Elisa? Did you have any?
Yep.
You are or you're not?
No, I've got it right here.
Okay. Because, it says you don't have to go through all of these questions. Of course, we're not going to get through all of them. So I just didn't know if you had any that you preferred to talk about over the other ones.
It does say about what else would you want to know about the candidates?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything right off, but I do know when hiring, and I know there's so many things you can't ask, but that one-on-one and getting to know them's got to be pretty important, and be able to ask questions to find out a diverse range of what they enjoy doing and how they'd respond to other people, I guess, is important. That's all I have there, so we're good.
I'm going back and forth between the two. It's like there's two different outlines. There's the one that we all look at, and then there's the discussion leader. But let's talk about, well, we talked about who to hire. Let's move on to the interview process. Why is there so much disagreement between the senior bankers and the Saturday meeting about which recruits to hire? So we can talk about just the whole interview process. Do we agree with how they have it set up? And why do we think that they are not agreeing with each other? And the first thing I thought of was just the whole setup of the actual interviews. They interview all morning long, and then they have a lunch meeting, and they're supposed to try and decide everything.
Yeah, really quick, condensed time.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good setup. I think that everybody by then, they're already kind of tired, and they're hungry. Of course, they're eating, but they want to go home too. So I didn't necessarily think that was the best way for them to go about doing the interviews. So what do you think is a better way for them, like drag it out longer, but make it like more of a fun weekend, not just a super Saturday, but well, of course, we don't do Sunday stuff, but more.
I wonder if they just were too many people. That had a say. Maybe,
Oh, like, was it 30 around the room or something?
yeah, maybe if they would narrow even that down so that maybe they, each of those 30, they could give a comment, but really the ultimate deciding point shouldn't be a group of that many people. That's just got to be so hard because everyone's going to have different opinions. They're looking for something different. They're different.
Right.
So,
Well, even there's just 3 of us, and we had some different ideas. So yeah, 30, that's a lot.
that's a lot. And they're all very headstrong, and they're very determined and have a stake in this. So their input is important. But I think at that point, if they're at the point of actually hiring, then they need to narrow that interview committee down to really make that final decision. It just seemed overwhelming. I would go crazy.
I agree with that. I think you were very accurate with that.
Yeah.
I also had a problem with, they make the comment how the one guy was talking to him and he's saying, my candidate was being too salesy and so he didn't like him. And then the guy brings up the point, he's like, well, I thought, he says, that candidate could have appealed to another director for having a great attitude, being eager to contribute. So, there's this, I guess I also think obviously having too many cooks in the kitchen is a huge problem.
Yeah.
Getting that many people to agree on anything is difficult. So the more people that are involved is a problem. When we were reading that thing the other day, they said that 3 people was enough to do this sort of thing.
3 to 5, yeah.
Is a lot.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, clearly there's not a really standardized procedure here. Like, they're not looking for the same skills. They're not asking the same questions.
That's right.
Which is also, it's harder to coordinate with so many people. But one of the things from the reading that stuck out to me was they make the comment that your questions need to be event questions. You guys remember that part?
I remember that, yeah.
And so when you're asking questions like, how would you walk through, I actually missed a question on the quiz, and that made me kind of mad because it absolutely, I think it's the only one on these stupid quizzes I've missed. And it totally quotes that exact thing in there, and it was on this part. It quotes one of the things in the solutions and then another one later. So it's like, well, which one do you want? Both of these are correct answers.
Well, see, that's why I didn't do very well. Okay, keep
Really
going.
stupid. I hate stuff like that. It makes me crazy. Anyways, I guess it's not that big a deal. It's 1 point. But my point is, they need to have a set of the same questions. Well, basically, it looks to me like they need to have a list of skills that they're looking for the job that every hiring manager is focused on. If everyone's looking for the same characteristics, I feel like that would really help them. And then they need to have a set of questions designed around trying to determine whether candidates have those skills. So if they're looking for the same skills and they're trying to find the skills in the same way, I feel like that would help them get on the same page. It may not take away all the disagreement, but it would have to help, right?
You'd almost think too is they could have a silent ballot or vote, and you vote for your top 2 and then just throw it in there, because at some point their information and their opinions get so muddled and so mixed up you probably can't even decipher what you remember about the person that you interviewed versus what someone else is telling you about when they interviewed them. I just think it's very, very muddled. That would be frustrating.
Well, and that's the other thing is at some point, if you're going for a big job and you've got enough candidates